Hey everyone, it's Rajib, and if you're watching this, you're probably gunning for that technical architect role using .NET Core. Good for you, it's a fantastic space to be in, and I want to make sure you're totally prepared to knock those interview questions out of the park. Because let's be honest, job interviews can be nerve-wracking, right? We've all been there, you're excited about the opportunity, but then you start thinking about those curveball questions they might throw your way. So, what I've done is put together this video with some of the most common .NET Core technical architect interview questions I've encountered and helped others prepare for. We're not just going to go over the questions, we're going to break down how to think about them and how to structure your answers in a way that really showcases your expertise. Remember, it's not just about knowing the answers, it's about showing them that you can think critically, solve problems, and communicate effectively. So let's dive in. So, the first question you might get is, what are the key architectural benefits of .NET Core? Now this seems like a softball question, right? But don't let that fool you. They're looking for you to demonstrate a deep understanding of why .NET Core exists in the first place. First and foremost, you gotta talk about cross-platform support. .NET Core isn't bound to Windows like the .NET framework. It runs beautifully on Linux, macOS, and even Docker containers. This opens up a whole world of possibilities for deployment flexibility and reaching a wider audience. Next, you want to hit on performance and scalability. .NET Core is designed from the ground up to be fast and efficient. The Kestrel web server is incredibly lightweight and powerful, and the modular design means you only include the dependencies you need, reducing overhead. And if you're building applications that need to scale, .NET Core's got your back with its asynchronous programming model. Don't forget to mention dependency injection. It's baked right into .NET Core, making it super easy to build loosely coupled and testable applications. Bring these benefits to life with real-world examples from your past projects. Alright, let's talk microservices. This is a hot topic in modern software development, and you're almost guaranteed to get asked about it in your interview. A common question is, how would you design a microservices-based architecture in .NET Core? This is where you get to show off your architectural chops. Start by explaining why microservices are a good fit for many modern applications. Talk about the benefits of breaking down a monolithic application into smaller, independent services. Think about things like improved scalability, fault isolation, and easier deployment, then dive into the specifics of how you'd build this with .NET Core. ASP.NET Core is a fantastic choice for building RESTful APIs, which are the backbone of most microservices architectures. You can use minimal APIs for super fast endpoints, or go with the full MVC framework if you need more structure. Next, talk about containerization with Docker. Containers are a perfect fit for microservices because they package up your application and all its dependencies into a single, portable unit. Once you've got your microservices containerized, you need a way to manage and orchestrate them. This is where tools like Kubernetes or Azure Kubernetes Service (AKS) come in. Don't forget about API gateways. When you have a bunch of microservices talking to each other, an API gateway can act as a single entry point for clients, simplifying communication and providing things like rate limiting and authentication. Ocelot is a popular open-source API gateway for .NET Core. Remember, the key here is to show that you understand the big picture of microservices architecture and how the different pieces fit together. Scalability is a big deal, right? I mean, who wants to build an app that crumbles under pressure? So, it's no surprise that you'll likely be asked about it in your interview. The question might be phrased something like, how would you ensure scalability in a .NET Core application? Think about horizontal scaling, async await, caching, and stateless services. Load balancers and cloud-native design principles are also key. Show your understanding of these concepts to impress your interviewer. Chapter 4, Dependency Injection, the heart of .NET Core. Alright, let's talk about a topic that's near and dear to my heart: dependency injection. It's one of those fundamental concepts in .NET Core, and you're almost guaranteed to get asked about it. A common question might be, what is the role of dependency injection in .NET Core? Now, before you dive into the technical details, it's helpful to frame your answer by talking about the why of dependency injection. Why is it such a big deal? Well, at its core, dependency injection is all about building loosely coupled, maintainable, and testable applications. It helps you avoid creating tightly interconnected code that's difficult to change and even harder to test. So how does it work in .NET Core? Well, .NET Core has a built-in dependency injection container, which is like a central hub for managing your application's dependencies. You tell the container what services you need, and it takes care of creating and providing them to the parts of your application that need them. One of the great things about .NET Core's dependency injection is that it's based on a simple concept: interfaces. Instead of hard-coding dependencies between concrete classes, you define dependencies using interfaces. This makes your code more flexible because you can easily swap out implementations without affecting the rest of your application. A classic example of this is injecting services in your startup.cs file. Now here's where you can really shine in your interview: connect dependency injection to testability. By conveying these ideas in your interview, you'll demonstrate a deeper understanding of software design principles. Chapter 5. .NET Core versus .NET Framework. Choosing the right tool. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room, the difference between .NET Core and .NET Framework. It's a question that comes up a lot, and rightly so. They both have .NET in their names, so it's natural to wonder what sets them apart. The question might be phrased as, what are the differences between .NET Core and .NET Framework, and why choose .NET Core for modern applications? Now, the first thing to understand is that .NET Core is the future of .NET. It's where Microsoft is investing heavily, and it's the platform they recommend for new development. But that doesn't mean .NET Framework is dead. It's still a very capable platform, and it's supported by Microsoft, but for new projects, especially those that need to be cross-platform, scalable, and cloud-native, .NET Core is the way to go. So let's break down the key differences. The biggest one is cross-platform support. .NET Core is truly cross-platform. You can run it on Windows, Mac OS, Linux, you name it. This is huge for companies that don't want to be tied to a single operating system or cloud provider. .NET Framework, on the other hand, is Windows only. Another major difference is performance. .NET Core is designed from the ground up to be fast and efficient. It uses a modular design, which means you only include the dependencies you need, reducing overhead. .NET Framework, while still capable, can be more resource-intensive. .NET Core is a perfect fit for building microservices because it's lightweight, modular, and easy to containerize with Docker. Finally, let's talk about open source. .NET Core is completely open source, which means you can see the source code, contribute to the project, and benefit from the huge .NET community. Chapter 6. Logging. It's not just about printing to the console. Alright, let's talk about logging. Now this might seem like a mundane topic, but trust me, it's more important than you might think, especially in the world of microservices and distributed systems. A common interview question might be, how would you handle logging in a .NET Core application? Now don't just say, oh, I'd use console.writeline. While that's fine for simple debugging, you need to show that you understand the nuances of logging in a production environment. This is about understanding that logs are more than just debugging tools. They're essential for monitoring your application's health, diagnosing issues, and even analyzing user behavior. Start by mentioning that .NET Core has built-in logging abstractions. This provides a consistent way to log messages from your application without being tied to a specific logging framework. You can easily configure different logging providers to send logs to different destinations, like the console, files, or even cloud-based logging services. But don't stop there. Talk about the importance of using structured logging. Instead of just logging plain text messages, structured logging allows you to include key value pairs and other structured data in your logs. This makes it much easier to search, filter, and analyze your logs using tools like Sec, Splunk, or Elasticsearch. This is where you introduce third-party logging providers like Serilog and Nlog. And if you're building applications for Azure, you gotta talk about application insights. By demonstrating your understanding of best practices and your ability to leverage the right tools, you'll show your interviewer that you take application monitoring and observability seriously. So there you have it, folks. Those are just a few of the common .NET Core interview questions you might encounter for a technical architect role. Remember, these questions are designed to assess not just your technical knowledge, but also your ability to think critically, solve problems, and communicate effectively. Don't forget to highlight your real-world experience. Anyone can memorize answers, but what sets you apart is your ability to connect these concepts to practical situations. Share stories about how you've used .NET Core to build amazing things. And hey, before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Which question did you find most helpful? Drop a comment below and let me know. And if you found this video useful, hit that subscribe button for more content on technical interviews, NetCore, and all things software architecture. Good luck with those interviews, and I'll catch you in the next one.